In just hours, the second Senate impeachment trial for former President Trump begins. It is historic, the trial taking place in the same location where he's charged with inciting an insurrection, our nation's capital. A live look at the U.S. Capitol right now. He's facing a single article of impeachment for incitement of insurrection related to the violent U.S. Capitol siege back on January 6. Georgia is the only state brought up in the article and mentioned 50 times in a 50-page supporting document. When Trump's impeachment trial convenes today, he will call on the late Atlanta civil rights leader Julian Bond as a defense witness. His words back then. Bond's son, right here in Atlanta, calls it ridiculous. Mara Sirianni has more.
To support their argument that Donald Trump should be acquitted, his attorneys are citing an important Supreme Court case, Bond v. Floyd, which dates back to the mid-1960s.
What I see them doing is grasping at straws. My father's case is very, very different.
Atlanta City Council member Michael Julian Bond points out that his father was denied a seat in the Georgia House of Representatives for telling a reporter that he opposed the Vietnam War. The House falsely accused Bond of advocating draft dodging, but they weren't trying to impeach him. Rather, the Georgia legislature was trying to make up a reason to exclude Bond from serving in the first place. In the end, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of Bond and he took his seat. Attorneys for the former president say the Georgia House was forbidden by the First Amendment from punishing Bond. They argue a legislature can't punish an elected official for free speech.
I think it's a quite creative citation.
Emory University law professor Fred Smith says he's not sure Bond's case supports Trump's.
The president's lawyers are looking for cases in which public speech by a public official has, in fact, been protected speech.
He would have a wry smile based on them grasping in his direction to try to save the former president.
And Donald Trump has rejected the request to testify under oath. Meanwhile, the Senate trial is set to get underway at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
And here's a quick look at what's required for Trump to be convicted. First, the Senate needs a 2/3 vote or 67 votes to convict him. But to keep Trump from taking office again, that requires a second vote of only a simple majority, but comes after a conviction. This would prevent Trump from running again for president in 2024. He also wouldn't be able to run for a House or Senate seat if barred from holding a federal office. It's important to note no U.S. president has ever been convicted of impeachment, and the Senate has never voted to bar a former president from holding office again. You can follow the trial as it unfolds on 11alive.com and be sure to download the 11 Alive app for all of the latest updates.